This is the Lyndsay Stafford Show.
Welcome to the Lyndsay Stafford Show. Happy to be back today in the studio with my friend Brooks Ruff, who is the owner of Heal This. And we're in our series right now focusing on featuring local legends across Middle Tennessee. And I'm really excited to have her here with us. We're going to talk a little bit about healing, and we'll share her journey, talk a little bit through the journey of an entrepreneur, relocation, and the challenges that come with that. So listen in and get excited. Brooks, thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
this
super
is
excited.
Exciting.
Yes,
Yeah.
It's always fun. And in the entrepreneur world, by default, I end up having more men than women on the show, and so I get a little bit extra excited when I have a strong, powerful woman sitting across from me. So very happy to have you here. We met several months ago, maybe 3-4 months ago, and have been talking about this for a while. So very happy to have you on here. Yeah. Can you tell everybody a little bit about what you do at Heal This?
Sure. Yeah, it is a holistic way of healing. So mind, body, soul. I am an energy medicine practitioner, which kind of encompasses some stuff that people don't really understand. Licensed massage therapist and an intuitive life coach. So that's your energy is your soul, right? And physical body. We might do some body work through massage. And coaching is, our thoughts, our emotions, our belief system. So, yeah.
That is so powerful when you think about mind, body, and spirit, and really being in control of all of those. I focus a lot as I coach other business owners on prioritizing, but getting your head right, and then full body health, right? What we take in, what activities we're doing, what we think about,
right.
All of those things create success. And I think it's lost in society oftentimes today. It's just follow this roadmap to success, but there's a foundation that has to happen in order to accomplish certain things. And that starts with inside,
for sure,
which is what you focus on. How did you get into that world?
That's a good question. Well, I have always been very intuitive. And when I say that, I can see some pictures in my mind or hear words. I didn't really know what that meant. And I think it really started to become more for me when I lost my parents. And so then I started to figure out what I was experiencing and how I could have that be something that would be beneficial for other people and be a part of my life on a daily basis. Somebody told me about Reiki. What's Reiki? It's energy work. We're all spiritual, energetic beings before we enter a physical body. And there's a lot going on in our energy before it manifests into our physical body. So I started to figure out all that, went through a bunch of training. And in order to do any of that kind of stuff and charge money for it, you have to have a license. So I decided to become a licensed massage therapist. But that just kind of spiraled into me understanding that we hold trauma, emotions in our physical body and our cells. And so I just started going with that and learning how to help people process all of that through their physical body, but also their energy. And then guess what? We have to look at our thoughts and our belief systems and why do we have certain emotions around certain actions? And so it just kind of encompasses all of that.
So it's like physical and emotional and spiritual therapy also at the same time, right? I have a business owner I work with, Kathlena, who owns the Brain Reset, and she works to reset brains from trauma.
Yes.
And it's amazing what you can see, like on the photos of your brain and how you actually can reset it from trauma.
Yes, you can.
But there's a piece of processing through that too. So it's really neat to hear. How did you get involved? What made you decide? Obviously you felt it, but what made you say, I'm going to start a business doing this?
Yeah, I had a moment of crazy insanity.
I think everyone who starts a business, it starts with that moment of insanity. And sometimes you take an action that you can't take back in that moment. And sometimes it just leads you forward.
I think, well, I was working for someone else who I totally respect and so grateful for the opportunity to be a part of Tennessee Alternative Medicine. Dr. Maxfield, she's amazing. But it's kind of like I was doing one thing and I knew I needed to be doing more things. And so I wanted to just be in control of all of that. And that was scary.
It was scary because starting a business, I remember starting my first business and I was just paralyzed by the thought of the paperwork alone, of what is required to have a business. What do I need to do? And there is not I do have now on, if you go to my website, lyndsaystafford.com, or on Instagram, I have a first 10 things you need to do to start a business.
Good.
But I couldn't find those things when I was starting. I couldn't figure out where to start. And it can be very intimidating. So it sounds like you experienced that of, oh my gosh, what am I doing? This is a hard process. How did it feel to be officially established as a business and when you took your first patient or your first client?
Yeah, that's great. I felt really proud of myself. I didn't even really know. I didn't know how to set up a website. I didn't know how to do anything with technology, to be honest. I was lucky to know how to work my phone. Yeah. And then I, just really asked a lot of people questions. I think that was probably one of the most important things you can do is find somebody that's doing what you're doing and ask them all the questions. Let them show you things and teach you whatever they are willing to show you and teach you, because there's just lots of different loopholes and different ways of doing it too, which I'm grateful to have had some friends and, mentors help me. But I felt really good. I felt really proud of myself. Yeah. I felt like I was a powerful person to be able to do it for myself and not depend on somebody else to do it.
Isn't it amazing? That feeling is amazing. And there's so many great things about being a business owner, but knowing that you did this, and I know you have a long journey that led to this. We've talked off the show about your journey. And so to be able to accomplish that on your own is so incredibly powerful and inspirational to other people when they see, a business owner in their own space. So it's such an incredible thing to be able to do that. Talk to us a little bit about struggles, some of the hard things, right? Yeah. I always say on this show, I like to have other people learn from our failures. And that's one of the best things about having a mentor is that they can say, no, I did this, that didn't work. This is where you need to go. And you talked about having a mentor. It's so critical to have a mentor and a guide through the process. So talk about some of the challenges you face that stand out.
Well, if you know me, I'm going to get all woo-woo about this,
It's because we welcome the woo-woo.
Yeah. But the biggest challenges and struggles is the resistance of myself, basically, just trying to get out of my own way. It brings up a lot of stuff about insecurity and self-doubt and can I do this? Am I this? And I think I know that's where the title or the name Heal This came from, is that I was really struggling with feeling rejected and feeling self-doubt. And it just kept coming back to the fact that if I didn't heal this, I wasn't going to go anywhere. I wasn't going to be able to progress. And so we all have a this, and multiple, and they keep coming up and they come up because they're there to teach us something. They're there to say, no, you are strong. You just haven't found it yet. And when you find it, that just goes away. And there's going to be another thing that's going to come up, but you just have to stop and turn around and look at it and say, okay, let's go. Teach me what you're here to teach me. And I'm ready to be stronger.
I love that. It's such a mental thing. Being a business owner, starting a business, if we can control the 6 inches between our ears and what happens, and it's a process, right? Because the voice we hear the most is our own voice all day long talking to us, and we have to program and decide what that is going to tell us.
Yes.
And you work with folks on that and that, so do I. You have to control what you're telling yourself. So if you're saying, this is hard, I'm not capable of doing this, that's what you're going to believe. So you have to stop and reprogram your brain to say, this is hard, but I can do this.
Yes.
And that one shift of one word, right? This is hard and I can't do this, or this is hard and I can do this.
Yeah.
It's amazing what that does to you, but it takes practice and diligence and consistency.
That's right.
And in the world that we live in today, there are so many things coming at us to compare the comparison game, keeping up with the Joneses game, this is what right looks like and you're not good enough. And it's not necessarily saying you're not good enough, but that's what we tell ourselves when we see other people's journeys or we see how far we have to go. It's so critical that we also look at how far we've come.
For sure. Well, the first thing that, let me just say, you brought up a couple of different points. And I think for me, I really had to look at who I really am. I didn't know who I was. I knew what everybody else was telling me who I was. I'd fit into a specific box for a really long time. And I was done being in the box. But then once you get out of the box, you're like, who am I? What is this?
Yes.
And so I got to write that story. I got to stop and say, I don't know. I'm going to take some time and really think about it and be prayerful and really listen and connect to something bigger than me and say, what am I here to do? Who am I? What brings me joy every day? Can I do that as a job? Yeah, I can.
I love it. What brings me joy? And then the other piece is, and the Bible tells us, you are gifted with certain things, and those gifts need to be used to serve. And slowing down, we have this world that comes at us so fast, and we're moving so fast all the time, that taking the time to slow down and just quiet the noise and determine what is important to me. What do I enjoy? I remember, Brooks, when I left corporate, and I had been in the corporate world for 20 years, and I had built a couple businesses, so I was still working, but I wasn't working for anybody else other than serving my clients, right? And I remember that first year, I felt kind of lost, that I wasn't doing what I'd always done, and I was choosing how to spend each day. And I went through phases where I was like, okay, I'm going to just lay on the couch and read a book today, and this is great. I'm going to go to Home Goods, and I'm going to shop for the house or whatever. Very quickly, I realized that's not what I enjoy. Those are fun in spurts, but that is not a life for me. Very quickly, I realized I like to get up at 5:30. I like to work out at 6. I like to be working all day and be productive and help other people. But I want to also be able to volunteer when I want to and cut my day off when I feel like it for my kids. So that first year of discovery, I imagine it's what a lot of people go through when they have a transition.
Yeah.
But if you don't take time to slow down and actually listen to what you are feeling, you might not get there. You might fall back into a different box that somebody else built for you.
That's so true. Well, it's like that with energy. When you are removing energy or you release energy, if you're not intentional about what you put into that space that was filled with, betrayal or, some kind of rejection or whatever, I just use those as an example, they will get filled. You have to be intentional about it, and that's something that I encourage everyone. And it's so simple, but there is science behind it. When you actually do affirmations or you write down in your journal or you tell yourself in the mirror, I'm amazing. I'm powerful. I've got this. I'm smart. I'm kind. I'm good. We don't get told that enough. We're telling ourselves all the time all of the bad things, but we don't stop and really look at all of the positive attributes that we have. And sometimes that's listening to someone else, like a dear friend or someone who just met us and we did a kind act of service for them. And they're like, I'm so grateful for you. And then you're like, wow, people are grateful for me. Okay. I must be doing something right, going in the right direction. So it's just little things like that, but they're very consistent.
What would you tell somebody as they're maybe they're hearing this and thinking, yeah, gosh, I tell myself I'm to this or not enough that all the time. Or maybe they don't even realize it, because I think most people don't realize what the story they tell themselves in their head.
Yeah.
You have to actually say, I'm going to pay attention to what I think about myself, and I'm going to change that because I want to change the narrative, to change the outcome. What are some of the things you teach people to do to start with? And I know anyone who wants to find out more about Brooks and the services she offered, we'll share all of that in the show notes and at the end. but I know she's going to give us some freebies to start with.
Of course.
What are some things that you would share with folks now? They're saying, maybe you're right. Maybe I do need to reprogram my brain.
Well, the beginning is a really good place to start, right? Self-awareness. What are my thoughts? What are my belief system? When we talk about being successful, what's the very first thing you think? I can't do that. I'm not good at it. That's not for me. Those kinds of things. When we talk about money, I don't have any. I can't ever make enough. There's thoughts that we have that are attached to every belief system we have, and we control those. Sometimes we are just not aware of them. So being more self-aware of what you're thinking every time we're talking about something that's pertaining to a belief system or a person or a place or anything. What am I thinking about it? And then really going with, what am I feeling about it? And those emotions, are they mine? Where did they come from? So just stopping and doing that first.
And that means we have to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
Because most people are going from one thing to the next. And if they're not in the things that they're going between, they're scrolling their phone, looking at other things coming in, and we're not silent enough to just be here.
Yes.
And listen to ourselves and reflect and take time to just say, what's going on in my head and in my heart and in my life today?
It's important.
It's, we numb ourselves with this. I've worked really hard to not do that, but it's society today is we just numb ourselves with, let's just, that endorphin that comes from what am I going to find online or what is this going to be versus just healing this inside, right?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest epiphanies I had not too long ago was after I had structured everything in my business, I had figured out the days I wanted to work, how many people I wanted to see, what was I going to charge, all of these different kinds of things. But you become on this track of going. And then I kind of got to this part where I, exhaled, and I'm always checking in, with God and saying, what do I do next? What's next? And I just heard, just be. And I was kind of like, just be what?
What do I have to be?
What do we need to be? Well, I can do that, and then it was just kind of, no, just be. And I thought, wow, what would that be like if I could just be? And
so interesting, right? And you have to be quiet enough to hear that. Mm-hmm. And if you're not sure what's next, you're probably doing too much or you're surrounded by too much noise.
Yeah.
You got to slow down enough.
Boundaries, got to get that stuff out.
Boundaries, yep.
Are big.
I want to dig into something just because it's a very relevant topic. I had this conversation yesterday as I was mentoring at the Entrepreneur Innovation Center here in Franklin, Tennessee, which is an amazing program. Williamson County schools, high school students, they come from all over and they get to, start a business, and they rely heavily on mentors. So if you listen to this and you're like, wait, that sounds cool, I want to volunteer, just message me and we'll show you how to get there. But they count on their volunteers to be mentors, right? But I had a conversation with a very, very talented young lady yesterday who does nails, and she showed me her nails, and I thought, wow, those look incredible. You did that, right? And so we had gotten a conversation, and it led to talking about pricing and how do you price yourself. And that's a hard thing to do, is to come up with what is my time worth and what does my price need to be for these things. Can we talk a little bit about how did you determine that for what you do?
Sure.
And for someone who's maybe got a product or service that they want to sell, what are some of the steps that you took? And we can talk through some of that.
Yeah. Well, let me jump ahead of myself and talk about gratuity first, because when you go to a service like nails or massage, or we can name a few of them, even hair sometimes, right? We think about what am I going to tip? And tip is on top, right? It's supposed to be kind of a gift after what you feel like the value of the service is. So for me, I'm just kind of like, well, I'm not even going to think about that. I'm going to make what I deserve for that hour or hour and a half or 2 hours. My time is valuable. It took me a little while to figure out that I am very generous with my time. I want to help people. I'm not here to make a ton of money, but I would love to make a ton of money. But I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to come from a place of wanting a ton of money. I'm going to come from a place of helping, and the money will come. And so pricing is of course, you want to look around your area. What are other people paying for those services? But also, I know there's valuable time that I'm giving people. And I feel really good about that. So that is what I did, is just look around and then say, I feel good about this price. And the people that are looking for my service will find me. You know, don't sell yourself short.
Yeah, and that's the problem that most business owners start with. They may not, that may hopefully may not be a thing forever, but I've talked to so many business owners and I say, you're not charging enough for your service. Actually, my parents live next door to us, so my husband and I spend a lot of time with my parents, and we have dinner together frequently, and we do a lot of things together. So I'll often be like, we had a great chef come cook for us. His name is Chris.
Nice.
I'll tag him in this episode. Yeah. He does private dining, and so he'll come to your house and prepare this incredible meal for you. And the first time he did it, I met him through my brother Mark. He's friends with my brother, and I said, "You're not charging enough for this. You need to charge more for what you're doing." And like my dad and my husband be like, "Why are you telling everybody that? Now you're going to pay more." But I can't help it. I'm like, no, but it's hard to price yourself. That's the difference. You can say, wow, that was a good service and that was worth more than I paid, but it's hard. And you can also say, I didn't pay. I paid way too much for what I got there. But it's very hard to price yourself. So I love that strategy of, if you're looking for pricing, first look around you. What are people paying for this, the product or service that you're providing? And then think about, what is your time worth based on your education, your experience, the lessons that you've learned, the things that you've been through to gain the knowledge that you have, right? When a plumber comes and does one thing to fix your let's say you've got a clogged sink and it takes them 3 minutes or 4 minutes to do it, and they charge you $300, you're like, $100 a minute?
Wow.
But you're not paying for those minutes. You're paying for the education and the tools that person came to your home with, and that costs money. So it's hard. So look around you, figure out what other people are paying, but then you also have to price yourself. What am I worth?
Yes.
And in the beginning, it may not be the same price that you elevate to after a year or 2 years of experience. Your prices should go up. They should increase. As you grow your business, you should increase your prices and then increase the demand of the clients that are going to pay the price that you set. So the clients that are no longer going to pay, you go through new clients, right?
Yeah. I mean, part of that too was, I just started out doing massage, and then I was doing massage and other energy work, right? And then it was like, I'm doing a mixture of 3 or 4 different types of services. And so if you were going to do one of those services, you would be paying a specific amount of money. Well, now you're getting 3 or 4 of those services. And so I don't feel bad about it. I questioned myself for a while. Like, who do you think you are? You know, that was that inner voice again, right? That's there saying, you can't do that. And then I thought, you know what? I'm going to do this and reevaluate it and see how it goes. And some people pushed back, and I just said, hey, I understand, you know, let's look at it this way. You were paying this amount of money and tipping me. Right. And you don't have to do that. Like, I'm good. I know I'm going to walk away with a specific amount of money. I'm going to be good and feel good about that. And so, it worked out.
And you grow more confident by doing that.
Yeah.
But you do have to say, I have a personal boundary and I won't do it for less than this.
Yeah.
I remember early in my business coaching career, I've coached for a long, long time, but when I started my own business coaching, and my assistant, who is still with me today, several years later, she's like family, and has the cutest 2 little boys ever. Love them. And they're obsessed with skeletons. So this is their favorite time of year.
I know.
Currently, as we record this, it's October. But I remember people would message me and ask me for advice. And she said, Lyndsay, do you want me to answer these people? Like, you're paying me to just give. Do you want me to take time with you to answer these people, to get what you want to say? And at the time I was working a full-time job too. So a lot of our time together working, I'd be driving from one location to the next. And in that drive, I would call her and we'd get on the phone. I couldn't text or email. So she would, be working that way. And I said, yes, to whom much is given, much will be required. We help. But at some point I had to stop because I physically couldn't keep up with the answers. Sure. Right. And I had to say, listen, my time is worth something. As much as I want to give it away, I have to have the boundary of, if I say yes, to giving something away for free, I'm saying no to my family and the people that matter most with the time that they deserve.
That's right.
From me.
Yeah.
So you have to have boundaries.
Yep.
And as a business owner, boundaries are tough because everyone can have access to you. It's your business. It can be 24/7 if you allow it to be.
Yeah.
So those boundaries become even more critical.
For sure.
And in the beginning, it's hard to establish those boundaries. Did you have a trouble with the access boundary of people having access to you?
For sure. It's like daily. You have to really check in with yourself and make sure you're good. You know, I can't give to people if I'm depleted, and I have to really start looking at how I'm feeling. Am I feeling good physically? Am I feeling good emotionally, spiritually? Have I been fed? You know, I need to because I can't give to other people. And who am I sitting over here coaching you if I'm not doing those things, you know?
Right.
And I tell my clients all the time, boundaries aren't just you saying no to the potluck or, no to this. It's what you really think of yourself. You know, it's your time, words, everything, right? If you think, and I use this ridiculous scale of, 1 out of 10, if you think you are an 8, but you allow everyone to treat you at a 4, and that means, come over when they want and do what they want in your life, then you really think you're a 4. And, so if you would like to think of yourself as an 8 or more, you have to treat yourself that way. Nobody's going to treat you the way you treat you, right? You have to do it yourself. And then you're showing them, this is what I allow in my life. So if you're going to treat yourself less than that, other people are going to treat you less than that. And it's something that has definitely been a huge heal this moment for me. I can't allow people to come in and take over my time or talk down to me and belittle me and degrade me. That's not acceptable. And once I decided that, it just became a powerful feeling inside of me to know that I control that. People treat you the way you allow them to treat you.
People will treat you exactly how you tell them to.
Yeah.
Exactly how you allow. And what you allow is what you encourage.
Yes.
And what you accept becomes your expectations.
That's right.
And that goes with children too, and at home and with your family. I mean, there are moments where I have to say to one of my kiddos who are awesome. I have amazing kids. They're incredible, but I might have to say, I don't really appreciate the way you're speaking to me. So if you can't change that, let's end the conversation and we can talk about it when you're ready to talk to me in a different way.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to say that to adults. I'm not going to be spoken to this way, so I'm happy to talk to you, but we're going to change the tone of the conversation.
Right.
Right. And that is emotional control that you're kind of throwing it in somebody's face. And I actually had to say this to somebody yesterday, like, we can continue the conversation, but I'm not going to have you speak to me that way.
Yeah.
So we're going to change the conversation. And this person as an adult said, I'm sorry. And they changed the tone.
Right.
But if you aren't strong enough with your own boundaries, that conversation can go a different way.
You got to know you deserve it, right? You got to know your worth. You have to know your worth, having respect, somebody treating you with respect. And that takes time. That takes the quiet moments. That takes searching and connecting to God, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we got to do.
We got to start and put that armor on every morning and your foundation. I talk about it a lot, that you got to guard the first few hours of your day.
Yep.
You cannot let the world come at you. I'm curious because, and you tell us what you do. For me, and you're a mom, single mom with an elementary school or middle school?
Oh, middle school.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. That age is kind of, 12 is kind of like, are they in middle school or elementary?
Yeah.
I guess it's usually 6th or 7th grade at that point. But my rule in the morning is nobody comes at me. I talk about it all the time on my show. I answer 2 texts in the morning. It's my dad confirming our workout and my assistant with, the first thing she needs in the morning. And it's, we have that relationship. So she knows what she can come at me with. But text, DM, emails, social media, none of that is allowed. I don't even look at it until usually it's 9 o'clock before I look at anything because I'm doing my stuff from 5:30 to 8:30, or maybe it's 8:30 to 9. But those first few hours, I get my head right and guard my time. What do you have in place for your morning routine? I'm always curious.
Yeah, I wake up. I kind of don't jump out of bed right away, but in that moment, it's a really great time because honestly, our frequencies are really high and we can connect to God really fast. I usually start with some kind of a positive affirmation. And I really do. I say, hey, could we do this day together? I'd like to
I love that.
co-collaborate and help me, and then also please help me to be aware and listen to any messages you have for me. And, sometimes those messages come in as words in our thoughts in our head, but they also come in as friends or people or a podcast we listen to. And it's something that maybe we've been prayerful about it, or maybe we've just been asking about it, but here it is. And this is the answer. And this is what we're looking for. But if we're not listening, it's just going to, it's going to pass us by and we're not going to be there. But no, I don't look at my phone. I try really hard not to even turn it on, but I have to just get out of the room because it's dark. And then definitely wake up before kids. I mean, I encourage moms all the time. You got to take that time.
Yes.
It's so important, because if they wake you up, that's it. You're done for the day. You're chasing the day all day long.
Yeah.
But just having that time to be by myself, and if that means I'm journaling or writing, or if that means I go outside and really just soak up, nature, it's amazing. And definitely go on walks or exercise. Sometimes that's after putting a kid on the bus or something like that. But you have to have your time for yourself.
And get your head,
huge.
your heart, and your mind and your body right.
Get all lined up.
So you said you start with just, prayer and kind of gratitude. Same. I do the same. So before I even get out of bed, it's like, thank you. Here's my morning thank you list. And like, all right, I'm here to serve today. What are we doing?
Yep.
And then you go at it. But you mentioned a few things. So get outside. That's always a requirement for myself as well. I mean, if it's pouring rain and it's like, you're not going to go stand in the rain.
No.
Not necessarily. But
yeah.
But even today I went for a walk and I was like, oh
Me too.
man, I dried my hair last night. I really don't want to go get it in the humidity today.
Yeah.
Should I just do the treadmill? And it was like, no, I want to get
It's not the
outside.
same.
It's not the same. So reading something, devotional, journal, gratitude, getting outside, moving your body, slowing down. Those are all elements in your morning routine. I echo the same. They look different for everybody, but they're things that everyone needs in their morning routine, is to stick to those things that are going to set your mind up and your body up for the rest of the day. And maybe it's not an hour workout. Maybe it's 5 minutes of stretching.
For sure.
Just that you are just paying attention to how you feel.
Yes.
I don't know where I was that I heard it. I've been a terrible stretcher for like my entire adult life, because you have to slow down.
Most people are.
I'd be like, I have 30 minutes. I'm working out the whole time. I don't need to stretch.
I know.
Right. And now it's a requirement. I do it in the morning and I do it before bed.
Yeah.
And I forget who said it to me. This is because I'm getting old, but said, I stretch it and it's so good for you. And also it just feels good. Mm-hmm. And it was like, you know what? It does. Yeah. And it just feels so good to slow down and move your body to benefit it.
I mean, I see people all the time stretch. It's so important. I mean, you want to live a really long time, move your body and stretch it.
I'm such a dork. I like getting gas, which I don't get gas very often. My husband's really good about going, I'm going to go get gas. I don't want you to have to do it. He's really, bless him, he's so good about looking out for me. But sometimes it just happens. I'm not above pumping gas. He just does it to be nice. But I'll be at the gas pump, and we always go to Costco. Mm-hmm. So there's like a line of like 70 people. And when I get gas, a lot of people just sit on their phones. I stretch the whole time. So my kids are always like, Mom, you're so embarrassing. You're like standing in the Costco line, stretching, lifting my legs up. But like, if it's 5 minutes, I'm kind of just reconnecting. Mm-hmm. Are there ways that you can kind of do that throughout the day that you would encourage people, or times that you...
Yeah. You're making me laugh, because sometimes
do you stretch at Costco too?
Yeah, I'll be in the kitchen, going down to reach down to get something. I'm like, oh, that feels good. Let's stay in that stretch for a really long time. I'm like, oh, my low back needed that really. So just the same thing as like fitting in a workout. Like you said, just take a minute and try and touch your toes. Open up your chest. We're forward all the time.
Yes,
go
like
driving. I mean, that's probably my number one go-to for stretching for every single person, is that, they wonder why their shoulders are forward and why they're hurting, but we're all hunched over all the time. Every single thing. This. Yes. Every single thing we're doing, driving, cooking, everything is right here, and we just need to open our chest. And it's also, energetically, we want to come from our heart space. And so it's like, if we're covering it and guarding it all the time, then, we're really not accessing that. So those are just some thoughts about that. So.
I love that. And massage is such a key part of life. You've got to be doing it. You got to be taking care of yourself.
For sure.
Gosh, you've had such great things to share. If you had one thing to say to an aspiring entrepreneur, somebody who, like you, was working for somebody else? And there is nothing wrong with that. We say that every time. If you want to work for somebody else, good. We need that. But if you aren't in that space and you really have this desire to start something, but you're not sure, or you're unsure or not confident in it, what advice would you give that person?
It's a lot of pressure there, Lyndsay.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just take some time for yourself and really figure out who you are and what brings you joy.
Yeah.
And if you can do it, do it.
Awesome. Figure out what brings you joy and just do it. Where can we find you? Can you tell listeners where they can find you?
Sure. Yeah. HealThisHolistic.com. I'm in Franklin.
Awesome.
So there. And I'm on Instagram too. Heal This Brooks.
All right. Heal This Brooks. Brooks, thank you so much for being here today. It was such a pleasure meeting you in person and being able to have you share so many great things with listeners. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Don't forget to like and share and subscribe.